Hi everybody, today we're going to be talking about optical illusions. Just like the sidewalk art, we're going to be tricking our brains into thinking that things are floating on our paper. To begin with, you're going to trace whatever shapes that you want to float on your paper. So I'm just using this flower pot I have handy. So I have that shape. Maybe I'll trace the bottom of it so I can have a smaller circle. And then the next thing I'm going to do, and you don't need to use a fancy mat like I have with all these lines and whatnot. You can kind of guesstimate this, or maybe fold a piece of paper into a skinny strip and just trace the strip a couple of times. We're going to do this all the way across the paper. I'm going to trace down, but I'm not tracing inside the circles that I drew. So behind the circles. Then the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to trace the lines that go this way. So the background looks like a checkerboard. Again, don't trace inside those circles that you drew before. Next, to create the illusion of depth, to make these shapes look like spheres, like forms, we're going to draw lines on the circles that look like they would bend. So think of a basketball. It's the same way you would look at a basketball. You see those lines that are there. On this one, you're not going to be able to fit too many because it's small. On this one, we're going to be able to fit more, but you want to make sure that these squares are going to appear to be the same size as the ones that we have in our background. So you don't want to put too many lines here. I like to start by making a dot at the top and a dot at the bottom where they meet. But on this one, the second round is not going to touch that same point. We're going to move out a little further. Like so. If you don't like how close or far away two lines are, you can always erase them and do it again, but I'm not going to worry too much about that. Now, when you go the other way, when I draw the lines that go horizontally, again, they're going to bend. So I'm going to start in the middle and draw a curved line, and from the middle out, curve it in the other direction. I'm going to do the same thing on this side. And again, don't worry too much about where the lines start and stop in the background. Just follow the form. So now what we've done is we've used the element of line to help us see form rather than shape, and to trick our eyes into believing that these items kind of pop off the page a little bit. But we're going to drive this home using value. So value is our shadow. It's the darkness of a color. I'm going to color the background first, and then I'm going to color our shapes the same color, like a checkerboard, and then we're going to add shadow that's going to create depth. Now, when coloring the spheres in, what you want to do is start with the square that's in the center and color that one first, and then build your checkerboard from there. So it doesn't matter what the outside edges do, as long as they follow the checkerboard. some of us, if you start on the edge and work your way in, you get hung up on which one to color, especially if it's an odd shape and not just a circle. Remember, checkerboards touch on the corners, so that's why I'm coloring this one. Here it's fully colored, but we're really not showing a whole lot of depth yet. So what's really important is going to be those shadows. To create those, you're just going to use a regular number 2 pencil and shade around the outside of each circle. Now when you do this, you want to make sure that the shadow is darker close to the object, that form you created, and then gets lighter as it moves away from that. So I'm going to create the dark ring around it first. And now I'm going to create a lighter value around that. It's a little scratchy, but it's okay. I'll show you how to fix that in a second. I'm getting a little bit lighter. I'm not pressing as hard with my pencil. And then I'm going to go even further and make one more pass, but this time it's a little lighter than that even. A little bit lighter. Okay. Now to blend that all in and make it look a little more realistic, you're just going to use a finger. You kind of have to rub hard, push hard, but don't wrinkle your paper. And it's going to look more shadow-like. See how it really gives it some depth there? And then you can always go back and clean up anything that you don't like. Fill in any gaps or whatever. Now, if you get good at this sort of thing, then you can do this with just about anything. You could do it with roses, anime characters, all kinds of stuff. 3-dimensional floating objects, another skill to tuck under your belt. I hope you give this a try, and I'll see you next time.